Jaden Rashada should be the week one starter for Arizona State Sun Devils football, and we're going to discuss it on this edition of the Locked On Sun Devils podcast.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. Thanks as always for tuning in. Wherever you're getting your podcast, hit like and subscribe and turn on those notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. Stay in touch with that content by following me on Twitter/X at RichieBrads36 and the podcast as well at LO_Sun Devils. Make every moment more right now. When you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. All right, let's go ahead and talk some Jaden Rashada. So let me go ahead and preface it with this. I am still a very big fan of Trenton Bourguet. I always will be, but there's some very obvious bias that I have with Bourguet. He's been on the show before. I've had conversations with him. I won't say that I've built a relationship with him, but I have definitely had an opportunity to get to know Trenton more than just as a player. And because of that, I do have a big bias towards Trenton. And I've talked about him before as somebody that I would love to see as the starter for the Sun Devils. But the fact of the matter is that Jaden Rashada just makes the more sense to be the week one starter for Arizona State. And it would just, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about why Rashada makes more sense to be the week one starter for Arizona State on this episode. So, let's go ahead and dive right into it. If you guys are on YouTube, you can see on the right-hand side of your screen all of the reasons why Rashada makes the most sense, and we'll dive into more detail, but we'll go ahead and start with the most obvious one, and that's that it's by far the most ideal opponent to start your career against with Southern Utah University. Now, this is not to disrespect Southern Utah. I don't know a lot about their program. I don't know if they're big-time winners at the FCS level or if they're one of the bottom feeders in the FCS level, but what I can tell you is they are an FCS opponent, and this is a Power 5 school. So what that means is that the talent level is simply not as good as it is at Arizona State. You just, you gotta call it as it is. This is not a school that on paper should be able to match up with what's going on at Arizona State. They have more talent. They have deeper rosters, and they have higher level players across the board. Not so much more talent at this point, but Arizona State's got some former 4-stars on this team. You've got a couple guys that were super highly recruited players like Clayton Smith on the defensive side of the football, Xavier Alfred at safety. You've got the culmination of guys like Jaden Rashada and Elijah Badger and Jalen Conyers. On paper, you were just a more talented team. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell you it's an easy win because we lost to Eastern Michigan last year. These things happen. But for you to get your career started, to get your college football 3 years, maybe 4 years underway, you can't ask for a better opponent than Southern Utah. This is on paper. And again, I'm not trying to disrespect Southern Utah, especially because Arizona State lost to an FCS team last year. But on paper, this should be a game that you win pretty handedly. Even last year, Arizona State beat down NAU 40-3. That's what you should be looking at here. You should be looking at a team that's able to accomplish that kind of a win. Because if a 3-12, if a 3-9 football team can do that, you should be able to do that with a new head coach and an influx of talent. This should be a more talented football team. So looking at Jaden Rashada, this is an ideal matchup. This is the team that you want to be able to start your college football journey against, because it's going to give you an opportunity to iron out some mistakes, take some chances, and make some opportunities for yourself. You can make some throws that maybe you wouldn't want to make against USC or Oregon or Utah. You can make some plays with your legs that probably aren't there against teams that have a more viable pass rush or linebackers that can get to the get into the backfield quicker. Like Jaden Rashada is a mobile guy. He's a quarterback that is interested in being able to beat you with his legs, whether it's as a runner or just simply improvising and making unscheduled plays. Like this is that kind of quarterback that is looking for those kind of opportunities. So Southern Utah is the perfect chance for you to take some chances and make some opportunities for yourself and see what you can do with a lesser opponent. Like again, just call it what it is. I'm not trying to disrespect them because we could very well lose to them, but the fact of the matter is that if you're looking for your best case scenario to try some stuff out, it's against Southern Utah. They're simply on paper not as good as you. So with Jaden Rashada being as talented as he is, we have to remember this is a really high 4-star kid who at one point in time was flirting with or was a 5-star prospect, depending on the outlet that you were looking at. He's going to get this opportunity to really get his footing. He's going to be able to dominate this team. Again, on paper, in theory, whatever you want to call it. That's what we should be looking at. But even if he doesn't, make your mistakes in this game. Throw some interceptions, take some sacks, overthrow some receivers. Like, see what you can do. Test your limits. Because at the end of the day, Arizona State should be able to handle Southern Utah. The defense should be able to get after the quarterback. The pass rush on paper is much better. There's some turnover guys in the secondary. There's quality linebacker play. Defense should be able to handle Southern Utah's offense. Then you've got some really talented running backs. You've got Tevin White and Kyson Brown and DeCarlos Brooks and Javen Jacobs and of course Cameron Scatabo. Like you should be able to run the football very well against them. So when you're looking at the passing game, take some chances. Because if Jaden Rashada throws 170 yards or if he throws 370 yards, you just want to be able to get him that exposure, give him those opportunities to make the mistakes and have some growing pains, whatever have you, and see what he can do. This is just the best case scenario to start your career. Is against an opponent that no matter how the quarterbacks end up playing for you, you should be able to take advantage of a team that just simply is not as talented as you. And again, just be able to take some opportunities. So, as far as an opponent goes, this is as good as it's going to get. Football season is about to kick off, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long because right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl, and you'll get bonus bets for every victory. And of course, you can use those bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/locked on and earn bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/locked on. Thanks for tuning in. Wherever you get those podcasts, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you get to stay in touch with everything that's going on with the Sun Devils for free. Also, shout out to my everydayers that are here every day. All right. Next up on the list, of course, is the massive upside. We already mentioned that Rashada is a guy who has this otherworldly potential. This quarterback that has the athleticism to make the unscheduled plays, to get out of the pocket, avoid would-be sacks, and then take off as a runner. Someone who can beat down a defense, not just with his arm, but with his legs. And if we're talking about that arm, my goodness, you've seen it in training camp, man. He can push that ball down the field. He's got an absolute cannon on his arm. I won't call him like a Patrick Mahomes arm, but it's very, very good. He can definitely push the ball down the field, and he's got some weapons that are going to be able to stretch the defense. Elijah Badger and Xavier Guillory are definitely guys who can take the top off of defenses. We've seen Andre Johnson is able to be that kind of guy as well. There's a lot here for him to work with. And when you have that kind of pure talent, pure athleticism, pure arm strength. Like, you just are going to be somebody that's going to be able to take advantage of college level players. Like, if everything turns out well, he's got NFL caliber upside here. We're obviously very, very, very far away from that conversation. But if you're looking at just the overall talent, the overall abilities, the overall athleticism, everything, the upside is potentially NFL. Like, the arm strength is not something you can teach. The athleticism is not something you can teach. So when you have that kind of seemingly limitless upside, you want to be able to get them those opportunities to start figuring it out sooner rather than later. There's two schools of camp here. Like, you could sit him for a year and let him learn the ropes, or you can get him live reps. So again, this is a great opportunity to start him against Southern Utah, but moving beyond Southern Utah, you could have him just figuring it out over the first handful of weeks of the year. And if he just ends up not being that guy, you can always, bring out a Drew Pyne or a Trenton Bourguet and have him do some learning again. Like, this is a guy who you want to be able to get some live reps for, though. I would tell you that even if he's not the week one starter, there needs to be at least one or two starts for Jaden Rashada at some point in the year. You just want to see him get onto the football to start getting those reps, because at a bare minimum, he's going to be the starter in 2024 unless he's really just that bad. But I just don't see that happening, because I think that a quarterback of his talent in a friendly offensive scheme and a friendly quarterbacking offense that Kenny Dillingham is going to provide, this is a great opportunity for Jaden Rashada to be a very good quarterback for a very long time. So you want him to be able to get out there, because you want him to be able to eventually attain that kind of massive upside that he has that we're alluding to here. If he can get to that by the end of the year compared to like the end of 2024, you're obviously going to be in a much better place moving forward for your program. You're going to be in a much better situation for Jaden Rashada to be able to take you to that next level and take his game to the next level. The sooner you get him out there, the sooner you get him those live reps, the sooner you give him that opportunity to learn, to grow, to improve, is the better for your program, is the better for Jaden Rashada's development, is the better for Kenny Dillingham to establish himself and prove that he is going to be the future of the program. And we'll talk more about the future here in just a moment, but this is definitely what you would call a perfect situation for Jaden Rashada to be able to get out onto the football field. He's a very talented quarterback. He's just got everything that you're looking for to check mark everything in the talent category and whatnot. So the sooner you can get him out there with that kind of massive upside, the better for your program. Thanks for tuning in. Wherever you get those podcasts, like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. And thank you guys for making us your first listen of the day, because, of course, we give you free content covering everything Arizona State Sun Devils. All right. Final part here, the future. The future is now. Jaden Rashada is the future of this program, at least for the next 2 years, short of them getting another high recruit for the 2024 class at the quarterback position. I think you bring in a guy. I don't know if you're going to get another highly recruited kid. And then you've got Butter Tolson in the 2025 recruiting class, who would be the quarterback potentially of the future, with Jaden Rashada entering his junior year. And if all goes right, Rashada could decide to declare for the NFL draft after 2025. But again, we cross that bridge when we get to it. We're not trying to get that far. But what he is the future of the program for at least the next 2 years. For the beginning of the Kenny Dillingham era, Jaden Rashada is the guy. Jaden Rashada is the person that everybody is excited for, everybody is looking forward to. He's the one who, compared to Drew Pyne or Trenton Bourguet, is going to put people in the seats, people in the stands. He's going to bring the students out. He's going to bring the longtime fans out. He's going to bring the fair weather fans out. People are looking forward to seeing Jaden Rashada more than they are Trenton Bourguet, more than they are Drew Pyne. He is the future. I cannot emphasize that enough. If you don't understand that, then let me just continue to hammer it home for you. He is so talented, and he's got that seemingly limitless upside that it just makes sense that you would want to go with him. And it makes sense that he's the one that you want to be able to guide your program for the next 2, maybe 3, and hopefully 4 years. Again, we cross that bridge when we get to it. And then you look at Kenny Dillingham, who has a very good track record with working with quarterbacks like Jordan Travis at Florida State and Bo Nix, both at Auburn and at Oregon. He is very much a great quarterbacks coach. Won't call him a quarterback whisperer just yet. I don't think he wants to be called a quarterback whisperer, but, he's got a track record of being able to work with those kind of guys. So for Jaden Rashada, this is a great situation. It's as close to a perfect situation as he's going to be able to find. And he's got the weapons. He's got the resources, both with Dillingham and, of course, with Bo Baldwin as well. Baldwin's going to be able to help get that kind of potential and that kind of upside and that kind of play out of him, hopefully earlier and sooner rather than later. You've got everything pointed in the right direction for Jaden Rashada to be the starting quarterback of this team week 1. And that's one of the reasons why you potentially want to start him week 1 and why you more than likely will start him week 1 is because the future is now. You want to be able to figure out sooner rather than later, again, to emphasize that point, whether or not Rashada is that guy. Because if he's not that player for you, then you'd rather figure that out in the first 5 to 6 weeks of the year compared to the last game of the season and then in 2024. You want to know now. You want to know if this is the guy or if he's not. And regardless, you're going to be rolling with him for a little while. You're going to be rolling with him probably for at least 2 years. And then, in 2025, you can reassess with the guys that you got coming in. Cross that bridge when you get to it, right? That's what I've been saying. That's what I'll continue to say. But the bottom line here is the future, you want to be able to find out sooner rather than later. Trenton Bourguet, I love him to pieces. This is last year. So you could start him for 12 games, but you could be doing yourself a disservice to figuring out what you're doing moving forward. In one sense, it could be really good for Jaden Rashada. It could give him that opportunity to learn and grow and all that stuff. But at the same time, you compare the overall abilities, and Jaden Rashada is just so much more talented than Trenton Bourguet is. So it really just makes sense to want to move forward with that. It also makes sense from, a financial standpoint. People are going to want to buy tickets. They're going to want to go to the games. They're going to want to potentially buy merchandise. Rashada does so much more for you in that department than both Bourguet and Drew Pyne. It just gets people excited. It activates the Valley. This is the kind of movement that you're looking forward to seeing. This is why Jaden Rashada makes the most sense to me to be the week 1 starter. It's a perfect opportunity against an FCS school. It is the seemingly limitless upside that he has. And of course, he's the future of this program. And what better time to start the future than right now? But what do you guys think of Jaden Rashada? Should he be the week 1 starter? Should he sit for a year? Should he wait to get his opportunity, depending on what's going on with the guys ahead of him? Let me know what you guys think. Drop a comment on YouTube. You can hit me up on Twitter /X at Richie Brads36 and the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. But as always, thank you guys for tuning in. Wherever you're getting those podcasts, make sure you hit like and subscribe and turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. And of course, we're free and available on all platforms. But I thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.